Good morning, warriors. It's another day on planet Earth, and I hope you're all doing really, really well because I feel great today. And today I wanted to speak about being a highly sensitive person as well as being a massive introvert. Now, I have known that I was a very, very sensitive person since such a young age. But realizing I was an introvert took a lot of time. I only realized that actually 2 or 3 years ago. So I'm going to speak about how it is actually for me. So it's a personal video with personal examples from my life, very raw, and it's my personal experience. So it doesn't mean every single person who is sensitive or introverted are going to have the same experience. But I'm going to get right into it. The earliest memory that I have of being sensitive was when I was 4 years old. My mum took me and my sister to a photo shoot in the middle of a shopping center. This is something that children do, with the props and make them look very cute for the photos. So I was all dressed up and was smiling, and it was all fine up until this couple walked past, and they were kind of like smiling and borderline laughing, and apparently they told my mum that we were very cute, but I didn't hear that or obviously know that. So I actually thought they were laughing at me, and I literally bursted into tears, and all the photos after that were just me being upset. Like, I just couldn't bring myself to smile. So that shows that, first of all, sensitivity, being highly sensitive, isn't actually something that happens over time. It's actually something that people are born with. It's 20% of the population are highly sensitive people, and it's a personality trait. So it's not a mental illness. It's not like there's something wrong with these people. It's purely a trait. And I've had the classic comments, crybaby. This was said a lot when I was in primary school by the boys. Toughen up. You need to get mentally strong. Too emotional, weak, snowflake. I need to be careful with what I say to you. There's something wrong with you. My parents compared me to this plant. It's called the mimosa plant, and I actually think it's called the sensitive plant. So when you touch it, it actually closes up. And they always referred me to this, which was actually quite a beautiful thing to kind of compare my sensitivity to a plant. But there we go. Parents recognized it, friends recognized it, anybody can see it who starts to get to know me. It's very obvious. So I'm sure most sensitive people have got some of these comments. It's very common. And life being a sensitive person has been challenging, but also very beautiful. Being a highly sensitive person, the reason why we are like this is because of our nervous system. It is a highly sensitive nervous system that processes things on a very deep level. So things like external stimuli, whether that's physical, emotional, sensory, it's processed very deeply, and it takes actually a lot longer to process this. Hence why, there's certain things as sensitive people we feel. I'm going to start off with not the most obvious thing, which is the emotions. I'm going to go ahead and start off with the stimuli part. Crowded places. I've never, ever felt comfortable in crowded places. The word I can use is it's too much being around people. So things like carnivals, events, theme parks, concerts, even things like grocery shopping. I don't go at times where it is busy, full of people. I feel like I need to rush the whole process and get out of there. And I feel very, very drained afterwards. So what I do is actually go at 8 a.m., which is when they open, and there is barely anybody, which is actually so comfortable. And I actually enjoy grocery shopping because I go at a time that's suited for me and I'm not overwhelmed by it. Lights. I know this is a very kind of small one and you might be like, oh, lights? But what I mean is bright light. So I'll tell you an example. I took my husband to a Hans Zimmer concert for his birthday. Like, I don't normally go to concerts, all right? But I did it to make him happy. And for me, it was a disaster. I hated every moment of it. Not the music, but the actual environment aspect of it and the stimuli. It was an overload for me. I can tell you one thing, I slept really well that night. But basically there was these fancy lights kind of like flashing everywhere, and it hit our section, and when it did, I literally had to close my eyes every time this light was flashing, and I was like, and the funny thing is I looked around and nobody else was in discomfort. Like, I literally was staring at people as these lights were like hitting them, and everyone just enjoyed it. They like was happy, cheering. That's when I realized there is something very different about my brain and the way it processes things. And I was really thinking to myself, is there somebody else in this stadium who felt that? Like, has anybody had that experience, a similar experience with lights? Another thing is like going to the beach in daylight, like when the sky is clear and the sun's out. Yes, it's beautiful, but I can't do it. It's too much for my brain. So if I was to go to the beach, I go in the nighttime or the evening, because it's so much more softer on my brain. It's much more enjoyable, beautiful, and I take it in. But I can never go like in the afternoon when pretty much everybody else likes going. Intensity of emotions, okay? Being a sensitive person is having emotions felt on a much deeper level, and the best way to explain it, it's felt 10 times more than somebody who's not sensitive. And I mean that. When I feel happy and joy, it's like ecstasy. I feel so happy. I've had friends who are close to me say, "Are you high?" I've had not just like one friend, it's been from different people. They always go, "Are you high?" Because I really bring out like my personality, which is quite weird and quirky actually, and it comes out because I'm feeling the intensity of happiness and joy. Things like sadness, anger, hurt, I felt very, very deeply, and I have struggled in my life to be healthy in this area. I'm not going to lie to you, okay? It's all about being raw and honest. I've had many, many issues around coping with these emotions. So I've obviously self-harmed. I know I've already been open about that in previous videos. I've got the history of self-harming. I don't do it anymore, but I've definitely done it here and there. Mainly when I'm not able to cope with hurt. I've locked myself in the toilet and just kind of lie on the floor. I've had episodes of hysterical crying. Now, this isn't normal crying where you just have a few tears. I'm talking hysterical. Like, it honestly looks like I'm reacting to some death or something. It's like a child crying out loud. It's very, very confusing for somebody who's never seen it. When it comes to anger, I have not been an angel. I have shouted. I have stormed off. I kind of go back to being a child. Any negative emotion will never allow me to sleep properly. Insomnia kicks in. So I find myself always awake from like 1 a.m. to like 4 a.m., which is the most important time to sleep. And I'm just like, why am I awake? I really want to sleep, but my mind just doesn't allow me, because the emotions are floating in me. They're just not coming down. They're not like settling. So this is something I think a lot of sensitive people experience, but some people don't as well. Now I'm moving on to introversion mixed with sensitivity, but this is more my life as an introvert. Introverts love deep talking, deep connection. I can say as an introvert, I hate small talk and superficial talk. I hate it. It is If I had to say it in one word, it is boring. Okay, boring. Loads of people out there seem to be fine with small talk. They enjoy it. They have a good time. I sit there drained, kind of wanting to avoid it. I will do anything to avoid small talk. So I love a deep talk. You guys, I crave deep talk. In my life right now, that is the one thing that I just want to have, because I don't have friends, okay? But it's not like how it was before, where I'm like depressed or anxious, and it's not in a dark place. I'm not in a dark place. I don't have friends, and I'm fine with that. Like, I love being on my own now. I've really changed things. I do find it very rare to come across people who are on a similar level, where they like the deep chats and the deep conversation. I have really found it difficult to find those kind of people. So I'm obviously hoping that I do come across that. I don't know if you guys are the same. Like, do you find it rare? I don't know. The next thing about being an introvert is having a social battery. Okay, if I was to socialize, and it's obviously like the classic, as I was saying, small talk or anything, or any sort of event or gathering or any sort of social thing where there's people, I have a battery, and I find myself when it's like, I think the maximum I can last in a social environment is maybe like 1.5 to 2 hours. And once the battery's drained, I have to go recharge at home. And that involves closing the curtains and sitting in a quiet, kind of dark room. Not like pitch black, but kind of moderately dark. And that's just how I recharge. And I have to do that, or else strange emotions come out of sitting in that social environment, like crankiness, restlessness, irritation, and just like kind of pushing whoever I'm with to like, can we go, please, can we go? It's just a part of me, and I've just always been like that. And energy levels, there's only so much of it every single day, and putting in the right places is key. And so having that social battery, I always have to be careful and mindful not to drain myself from being in a social environment for too long. You guys, as an introvert and a sensitive person, I have never done well in institutions. What I mean by that is school, corporate world, anything like that. And I've done a lot of jobs in the corporate world, and I've just never managed to stay more than 2 months, because it's overwhelming for me, and I'm always surrounded by the wrong people. They're always extroverted, loud. They just have no problem socializing and very quickly connect. And I've just not been like that. It takes time for me to connect, and I've never had the opportunity to kind of take it slow. It's always been so fast when it comes to socialization in the corporate world. And unfortunately, I'm always left with nobody to connect with. And it does cause sort of like the discomfort and not wanting to be there, because there's kind of on my own all the time. And I think people misunderstand me. They think I'm just quiet and boring. When that's not the case. If I do have that deep connection, I can obviously talk away. And oh my gosh, school was a nightmare. I could not finish school because it was so bad. People were rude. I'm not going to lie, everyone in school was just rude. It was all about being cool. It was never about anything meaningful. And it was just small talk, stupid talk. And I couldn't really connect with anybody at school. It was a nightmare for me. And it led to things like IBS. This is what actually made me stop school, which was IBS was extreme for me because of the anxiety and not being able to feel comfortable in that environment. So every time I was in a classroom, I would have diarrhea like every 5 minutes, no joke. It was nothing to do with food. It was literally my digestive system playing up from maybe the flight or fight response. It was just awful. But as soon as I left school, my IBS just stopped. So it says a lot about me and my sensitivity, and that it was sometimes these environments are just not for us, and that's okay, you know. The most beautiful thing about being a sensitive person and an introvert is seeing a whole nother level of beauty in the world that is incredible, and that is the reason why I would never want to change myself. This is one of the biggest things that I love about myself and being sensitive and being an introvert. I'm not talking about like looking at a painting and being like, oh wow, that's beautiful. I'm talking about the subtle beauty, and it's like the things that are not noticed and not picked up on by the average people, I guess. I noticed that a lot of people admire like the big things in life, you know, the fancy cars, the big houses, even the big animals. Everyone's like, whoa, that's a shark. Oh, look at that whale. Or, oh, that's a massive spider. And then I personally, like, I get that these things are nice. It's not like I'm blind, but the for me to react like that, it's when I see the beauty in things like spider webs or slugs. I know that sounds really weird, but I remember coming to England and coming across these massive slugs. And I was so fascinated. I looked it up on Google, and it's called bin slugs. And I know not many people find it fascinating, but I just saw beauty in it because it was just on its own, doing its own thing, you know, just slowly finding its way, and just found that really beautiful. Even things like the wind blowing against the trees, I just find it so beautiful. Um, Even like seeing a small flower in a big, big patch of grass, I'm like, how did you pop up in the middle of this, you beautiful thing? So, warriors, I've talked a lot about being a highly sensitive person and an introvert, and I don't want to say too much because the video is already quite long, but I hope this makes you maybe understand sensitivity a bit more and how it is really to be an introvert. And by watching this video, you're actually knowing almost 50% of who I am, because these two things make a massive, massive part of me. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was kind of like a long talk, but and I hope a lot of people could relate to this, because that's a really great feeling, isn't it? Being able to relate to similar people. And I really hope everyone is just okay and doing well, and sending you all a lot of love. And it's getting towards the end of the year, and it's unbelievable how fast this year's gone. But I hope everyone's had like really great experiences, and learn more about themselves. And yeah, I love you all very much, and see you in the next video. Bye.